Hello and welcome to my newest video. This is Kishkisan and today I'll be talking about green-purple spirits. So this deck is inspired by a couple of people that I've played against on ladder and talked to. Most notably are Madoka and Toonstar. There is also Dazed Max deck, which I think was the first spirit deck that I saw on Mythgard Hub. My deck is a bit different from the three decks that I've seen in that it plays disc, which, let's be honest here, all my decks play disc. But yeah, I've been really enjoying this deck. It has a very aggro curve, and the interesting aspect of this deck is that it doesn't really ever have to go face, which is kind of weird, and at the same time it's very frustrating for the opponent to deal with. There's just too many ways to ping the opponent. House Elf is really nice with 3 health. It makes sure that the opponent cannot trade with it early in the early game. Mothmara can just deal so much damage throughout the game, and Call from the Grave is really a card that I underestimated when it was first released, and because really there aren't that many good spirits that you want to call back. Just Hopeless Necromantic and the Vixen, but it's really solid, like dealing these 4 damage, and with how the deck is centered around ping, this card is really good. I'm really surprised by how good it turned out to be. And yeah, so we just want to play spirits and keep summoning them over and over and deal a lot of ping damage. Corrupt Prayer Wheel helps us with that. Wailing Yokai is a really nice card as well. And the interesting thing about this deck is that I chose to play Barkeep over Gloombringer. When we look at Gloombringer, I think they both do the same thing, because since I'm running disc, Gloombringer is just drawing a card, whereas Barkeep is also drawing a card and helping me flip disc. So I think they both fit the same deck slot, but yeah, I think every purple disc deck needs to be running Barkeep anyway. So I think if it wasn't disc, I'd be running Gloombringer. And yeah, so there's an interesting path that a lot of decks have been taking as well. They've been playing Dead Angler instead of Vixen, and the Dead Angler is really nice, but I don't really have it, so I can't really say much about it. But Toonstar says it's really good in this deck, and he's a really good player, so I would trust him with that. So yeah, I'm gonna show a few games with it, and yeah. So the first game is against Inanis, who actually turns out to feature in a lot of my videos, but I think it's because we both play at the same time. Yeah, so I'm playing the Spirit deck that I just showed, and I think he's playing a yellow-blue control deck. Yeah, so let's get started with the game. So we want to develop the House Elephant 1, or the Mothmara, and since I didn't really know what does the opponent play, I decided to go with the House Elf. But I think Mothmara is just as fine, and the Venom Fang is really annoying for almost every deck to play against, because of how it just shuts down these lanes in the early game. And yeah, so this House Elf just dealt 1 face damage, and I decided to invest in the left side of the board because I cannot deal with the Venom Fang, and I'll just try to take this side of the board, and I discard the Vixen so that I'll be able to summon it back from the Necro. And the opponent plays this Kara here, and what happens is really interesting, because I don't think this deck can deal with Kara, So I just
What is lost?
try to race the opponent, and this really shows how good the deck can race. So yeah, the opponent is just it looks like a really losing position from this point, but it's really amazing how much damage this deck packs. Like yeah.
Leave it all on the track.
So yeah, that car is really scary right now, and there's not much that we can do about it. But the opponent is at a dangerously low life total, and we find the corrupt prayer wheel, and we'll be able to use that to finish the game right now. That smite dealt 2 damage, and I was looking for lethal there, and the lethal is with, and I was able to find the lethal with the corrupt prayer wheel and racer, because the corrupt prayer wheel deals 1 damage. So that's game. And the second game is against Doris, whom is always playing Angel Loop. So this is really a test for how good is this as an aggro deck, because Angel Loop really folds to anything that's fast enough. So yeah, if the aggro deck is able to beat an Angel Loop, it's probably an aggro deck. It's a decent aggro deck. So we just play our pinging units in the beginning, and I think he's not yet sure if I'm playing Necro or not. And yeah, I discard the barkeep here, and I just don't want to contest at this point. And yeah.
What is lost?
So it's turn 4, and the opponent is just playing the second minion. So this really just shows that Angel Loop has a hard time dealing with aggro, and this is a very nice combo in this deck: Spirit Stones and having a Spirit Lie on it. So when a Spirit minion is occupying the Spirit Stones, the opposing minion gets banished when the Spirit minion is killed, and this is an interesting position because he can either trade into this yokai and lose his Bragi, or he just leaves the yokai or moves it, and he just keeps taking damage from the yokai, because the yokai just deals 1 damage to your opponent each turn. And the opponent just couldn't deal with it, and he decided to seal it. I don't think that was the correct decision anyway, but yeah, it just shows how much pressure just these 2 cards put on the opponent. And our Necro is just uncontested on the left side and is able to go face. Yeah, so we just keep developing like this, and the opponent really can't do anything because we have these deports, and since this unit is now ephemeral, since it's occupying since Bragi is ephemeral, since it's occupying one of the 3 lanes in front of the Spirit Stones, this deport actually just banishes Bragi. We're not able to deal with Sign, but we don't really care about Sign that much. We're just caring about the opponent's life total, and we don't really care about him having the Pride of Place, because we're able to just bounce the Sign. So I think this is just dealing ping damage and just pushing in a smite in there. And maybe the opponent would have had a Wonder Drug, but I don't think I was in a position to play around Wonder Drug with an empty hand. So, yeah. And this call to the... and if you notice that the Spirit Stones deals 1 damage when the occupying minion dies, so it just deals ping damage as well. And this Mothmara now, since it was returned to my hand with the Call from the Grave, deals 4 damage to the opponent. This is just game here.
The magic flows.
Yeah, so this just shows that the deck can finish games out of nowhere. And yeah, it's a really interesting deck. And yeah, be sure to check my deck that I'll have on Mythgard Hub, or Toon's deck and Dazed Max deck, as well as Madoka's deck, each offer a different path for building the Spirit deck. And yeah, it's a very fun archetype, and it can really finish games very quickly and out of nowhere. Thank you for watching, and please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video.